When you have poor teachers, you get a poor education. And when you get a poor education, you are destined to be a poor man and a poor woman the rest of your life. Poor education, you can only work on a poor-paying job. And that poor-paying job enables you to live again in a poor neighborhood. So it's a very vicious cycle. And now that I have the independence of action, it's my intention to work with everybody or against everybody, whatever the case may be, to try and get some kind of immediate solution to the problems that are confronting our people.
Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day. While the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor, he was telling you to build your own house.
Build your own house. What's up, Jimmy? I see you out there. Build your own house. Is that a strange concept for black people? Tonight, I wanted to talk about Malcolm X. His birthday will be Sunday, May the 19th, and they don't have a holiday on the calendar for it. But I think we should be paying respect to this man who gave us a sense of manhood, and the white people just saw it a different way, just like they see Farrakhan in a different light. And I think when white people hate a black man, it's probably because he's speaking the truth. At least for the most part that I've seen it, is most of the time because he is speaking some form of truth. Now, I have some different opinions on Farrakhan, the relationship between Farrakhan and Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which, you know, I share sometime because I do feel that, and Farrakhan has admitted that maybe he had something to do with the creation of the environment that led up to Malcolm's death. And I mean, these are some of the reasons that I just, you know, can't go that deep with the nation, not to offend the nation, but, you know, the nation is still divided after the fall. There are a lot of people like the Crow organization, Commemoration for the Remembrance of the Elijah Muhammad, which is Crow, which they don't really mess with the Farrakhan sect. So, where we are seeing a lot of unity with the Muslims, there's also a lot of, divide still there when Elijah kicked Malcolm out. He also kicked his son Wallace Muhammad out. Wallace Muhammad wanted to teach a more traditional form of Muslim Islam, and the teachings that Elijah and Muhammad were putting forth were more created here in America. It was different than what was taught overseas, but it was done that way because the black people in America were dealing with a different environment, a different creature. But you cannot change the word of God no matter what. Those are the teachings. So when it came down to Farrakhan and Malcolm, and I'm just going to repeat what was told to me by people that were in the nation, that Farrakhan was kind of a protege of Malcolm X. He was not on the level, of course, of a Malcolm X. Malcolm X was the brother minister who was opening all these different mosques around the country. When Malcolm joined, there were about 500 people. And over a stretch of period, they really grew that and had lots of mosques throughout the nation. So, of course, the jealousy monster would set in, and people would, it's as anything, other people that may have been in the nation before Malcolm or who brought Malcolm into the nation, started feeling a certain type of way. And even though Malcolm had been a hoodlum and thug and pimps, he was into prostitution, drugs, everything, and he turned his life around to be a respectable person. So when the infidelity of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came up, I don't know if Malcolm ever asked him directly or even had that chance to have that conversation directly. But a lot of the Muslims will tell you a story about Malcolm apologizing and wanting to come back to the nation. And I equate that. I tell people, I say, well, shoot, that's like your parents, and you're out and you're on the outs with your parents, and you may come to your parents and say something in a certain way that says, even if you don't feel you're wrong, you may cop out to it. You may say, Mom, Dad, whoever your caretaker is, I'm really sorry about what I did. I don't want to be on the outs with you. I love you. So there is a recording of Malcolm saying such a type of confession, and they use that, the Muslims will use that to say, see, Malcolm was wrong, he's admitting guilt. No, he's just wants to be where he's familiar. He was on the outskirts of the Muslim movement and really on the outskirts of the civil rights movement, because the Muslims really didn't believe in the civil rights movement and their philosophies. It was more of a do for self type of situation. And so Malcolm did meet with, he tried to meet with King, but King was locked up in jail, and he visited Martin's church, and he spoke at Martin's church. And Ozzie Davis and all the leaders at that time, they sat down and they had a conversation with Malcolm, and he told them about his life and how he joined the nation. And they felt, you can go out there and probably try to find the video. Sometimes I'm cutting it so close now I don't have time to load everything up. I'll have to load everything up the night before. But Ozzie Davis says, he's like, he just seemed like a lost person. And we felt that if Elijah Muhammad would call him home, that he would take off and run back. So just because you want to be in a place that's familiar to you, that may have done you wrong, that's not an admission of guilt on your side. Like I said, I don't know if him and Elijah Muhammad ever had that conversation about these babies. We know these babies exist because when they did an event of, I think just like a year or so ago, at the it wasn't a women's march. It was something else, a 25th anniversary or something. They brought all these children up. Now these are the same children that he denied, and now they're using them as props to say, "Hey, look, no, these are all beautiful black children." And nobody's ever denied that they were beautiful black children. But you are the leader of the nation. You know, no matter how you try to spin that, it is what it is. And there was strife brought into the nation. I mean, and Malcolm was fully aware of what would happen. But I played a clip at the beginning of the show, and he was talking about his freedom to speak freely. When you're in a nation or on an organization, and you're not the head of the organization pretty much tells you how to speak. So he was in violation of that. He knew he would be marked for death. There's no pretense that the government was feeding the nation things about Malcolm and feeding Malcolm the things about the nation. The only difference was, and you can find this recording out there too, when they came to Malcolm and said, well, these people are on the outs on you. You said they're trying to kill you and all this, and why would you protect them? And Malcolm looked them square in the face, and this is what we had to learn how to do, and say, why would I help you against my brother on anything? You are our common enemy. And that's why the name of the show is Malcolm X, Our Manhood. You can be a voice in the wilderness of our people just by having a positive attitude toward your people. It's sad, the deterioration, and summertime's coming, that we know every summer in black neighborhoods across America there will be violence. There'll be drug selling, there'll be pregnancy, there'll be destruction of the neighborhood. And that comes from, it's a model of destruction. Like I say in my poem, They Want You to Be a Nigger. Self-destruction taught by the destructional teacher. We're on the playing field, but they're in the bleachers. They are constantly keeping us in this haze with this false reality called racism, which Malcolm taught us racism isn't a black problem, it's a white problem that they force us to live under. You're not allowed to have expectations of white people. That's why we have Donald Trump as the president. And how often do you see white people complaining about Donald Trump? No, they just complaining about their share of the money. That's all they complaining about. They're not complaining about how horrible this dude is. They just not. So when we think about ourselves and what the nation, and it's always been hard for me to divide the nation from Malcolm, because in a sense Malcolm became the nation too, and he was a great speaker. And my show starts off with Malcolm X speech. I refer to Malcolm on a lot of different topics because he had a clear understanding. Like I say, having been part of that underworld and then coming out, it was kind of like a transformation. Sometimes you have to go through a wilderness to find yourself. Like you have everybody screaming woke right now. And I say, if you're just waking up now, where have you been for the last 50 years? I don't want to hear your woke statements, and woke to you means continue to play these same games. That was the one thing that Martin and Malcolm came to together, and they both came to that same point of realizing you are dealing with devils, moral monsters whose only thing in life is to keep you under their feet. Martin had lost much of his support in the North and in the South. Malcolm was trying to create something, a bridge between the African nations and America, to file claims in the UN against America, which probably wouldn't have worked because all these UN nations were still, like they are today, dependent on America for money. So that's what keeps us downtrodden in America now. It's the whole economics of it. Malcolm talked about, how are we talking about economics when we don't even own the businesses in our neighborhood to create an economics? Twice I had a conversation with people in the neighborhood about opening businesses in the neighborhood. And I point out to the Arabs across the street from my store, and I'm like, I've got nothing against these Arabs. They could be the best people in the world, but guess what? Their needs don't come ahead of my needs. And your government is assisting them. Just like your government assisted when it came to any black person who had the potential to raise black people up. I said, how do these people across the street that can barely speak English fill out the paperwork and get the grant money to open a business in your neighborhood? But you, the black person that has been here all your life, don't qualify for any of this money. They give you a whole list of stuff. And they play games. I actually had to give a call, and I haven't got the call back, or if he called me back, I missed it. I went to a meeting about a grant, the NOFO, New Opportunity Fund something grant. And there were about 300, I want to say there was about 300 people in the South Shore Cultural Center. And so I'm looking, and it was horrible. First of all, you got 300 people in the room, and the screen you've got is about, I'll be generous and say it was 10 feet wide and maybe 8 feet tall. It was clearly not large enough for everybody to see. So everybody is in the room with these cameras trying to zoom in. They didn't have any handouts. So the people that's presenting this to the black people, no handouts. Then they're zooming through the presentation that you need to be taking shorthand to get any of this information. Then they drop the bomb on you at the end, but this is a reimbursement grant, meaning you need to have the money in the first place and pass this 39 list credential, which out of the 300 people in that room, maybe 4 or 5 people might qualify if they lucky. Plus, they don't have the information. There's no reference to reference back to. I wonder, do they give the white people that same presentation? Now, my guy, they put him out in the front because he's the black face and he's the deputy so-and-so. And then the white woman comes up and gives the speech. So now they can go back and say, we presented this to you black people. Yes, we did. We gave you all the information. They don't have to prove that there were no handouts given. All they had to prove is, hey, we showed up, we were there. They don't have to show how there was only one podium mic and every 5 seconds somebody saying, can you speak up? Can you speak up? I took a whole lot of notes on how the setup was done because I'm going to add an AV section to my business. Because if that's the best that you all can do, that is horrible. And I can't see you even giving a presentation like that to white folks. So this grant was $15 million by Pritzker. And they said, well, $10 million is going over here, and then y'all get to fight over the $5 million. And good luck to you. So they economically deprive you, and Malcolm understood this years ago. It is the whole economics. I don't want to play political games with you when we all know the reason is economics. So the whole reason that you can't get reparations is because of your economics. If we give you reparations like the Jews got, if we give you training, we give you money, we give you debt forgiveness, that makes it too easy for you to compete with us. A lot of people don't see it. I was talking about the Big Three League, that Ice Cube and Magic and LL and Serena Williams and Puffy, all of them were trying to get these channels from Disney. So I showed the guy that came in today. I said, let me show you something. I pull up the Big Three on YouTube, and I show them all the old basketball players that used to play in the league that now that people never got a chance to see. Now they get to see them in their own element, and the element is more hyped up. You know how we used to get when we're out there on the basketball court and things like that. Hey, Carmen, I see you out there. And then they pan out in the same stadiums that the normal NBA plays in. They're playing in, and they got people all over the place selling out the stadiums. That's a problem for the NBA. Because they're looking at that and they're saying no. And we can call it a conspiracy. But when it comes to money, if I'm a white man and I'm looking at these black people have found a way to create a league outside of the NBA that's generating money. I mean, they have a draft and everything. Hey, sis, I see you out there. So they have a draft. They don't have any general managers bothering them. They've got a whole bunch of promotion. They've got all the old players. I mean, they're going back with Dr. J and Clyde the Glide. You know, all the players I grew up watching. And some before. Kareem, everybody's there. A lot of the newer players are showing up. So this is a vehicle that could change something. So we can't. They came up with the $2 billion bid that they were originally looking for, but then all of a sudden this other group comes up with $10 billion. So it was a economic struggle for that group with Magic and all them to come up with the $2 billion. Well, you can still buy Magic and everybody if you can come up with $11 billion. No, they just screwed you out of that. And Ice Cube, this is the third year of the contract of the Big Three League, so your contract is about to be up. So they had to go and try to sue the government and, like, go talk to the Kings, and they can decide if you black people get to have anything. Now, they'll probably tell them, look, you can still make a little money this way, but you are not going to make money the other way that you think you're going to make it. So I talked to the brother about that. Then I said, do you know that the NBA is starting a franchise in Africa? They started the G League. They started the D League. These are all the ways that they are farming our people. And a lot of people don't want to believe it, but I will. Let me go ahead and show y'all the little article. So y'all can be like, oh, we didn't know about that. So they're out there. The NBA and FIBA announced plans for a pro league in Africa. It's going to be called AfricaNBA.com. Is this like under all our noses? We don't see how these people work. So all these years we talked about having our own league and doing something, but not having the financial wherewithal to do it. the people with the money are going to institute it, and they're going to do it, and they're going to block us further out of having anything. So the name of the game, like Mr. Phillips told me back in 1983, Mr. Robinson, why would they do anything to help us succeed or be equal with them? Which led me back to the saying of Malcolm, build your own house. And it doesn't have to be the world's greatest house, but it's got to be a sustainable house. I told the brothers today, I said, check this out. I said, the Chinese man, they got, when you go to any city in America, sign says Chinatown. All the Chinese people live there. All the businesses are Chinese owned. Self-contained. That's not a segregated neighborhood. That's a separated neighborhood, because separation is you made a choice to be separated. Segregation is forced upon you, like Chicago and so many other cities, where you niggas live over here. You niggas here, this is your neighborhood. Don't come over here. That's segregation. That's what's forced upon you. And if you have no economic development, South Shore, where my store is at, see, white guys are every morning, Polish people, Jewish people, buying up the property, fixing up the buildings. Now, like I said, they came with a $1.8 million grant from the Jewish people. We don't own any of the stores, pretty much. I mean, it's a few of us. Most of it is barber shops, beauty shops, rib joints, which is not a knock on in any business, but we have no corporate businesses. And if you're going to compete in a corporate world, you need some type of corporate foundation. Trying to work on that with a couple other brothers myself, where, you know, you do this and you do this, you do this. We need a inroad to corporations. We don't need to work for them as much as we can't build our own foundation if we keep helping them put buildings on the foundation that they already had us to build. So Malcolm brought all this to the forefront. He constantly talked about this when he got his freedom away from the nation. And we don't hate the nation. You know, that whole thing with Malcolm, it was a unfortunate set of circumstances. But that doesn't negate to a lot of the stuff that they say is still true, as Farrakhan's been kicked off of Facebook for speaking the truth. Because you ask him that, and the first thing they say, well, he's anti-Semitic. Well, shit, you anti-black. Okay, it doesn't make a difference that you say anti-black, because you ain't got no money. So you saying anti-black means nothing to us in the rest of the world. But we can say that you're anti-Semitic. No, Hollywood is controlled by mostly the Jews. How is that when they had the worst Holocaust in the world? This is what the Jewish people will tell you. Who knows? I'm probably going to get kicked off of Facebook and YouTube soon too. You're talking about something that happened in a whole nother country for a period of about 10 years. Yes, it was horrible. Lots of people lost their lives. People were persecuted for no reason other than being a Jew. Terrible. We're talking about 65 million black people. Not only in America, but in the South America and all the islands. A destruction of a people for over 3 centuries. I wish a Jewish person would tell me that the Jewish Holocaust is worse than the black Holocaust. I looked them in their face and said, if you don't get out my face with that Jewish crap, oh, Richard's anti-Semitic. He said Jewish crap. No, then you got reparations from that country. They got factories, they got training, they got money for years and years to come, and they still getting money. When Obama left the office, I didn't see no plans for reparations, but I did see where he kicked out like $240 million to Israel, which is a Jewish country. Even before that, there was another $75 million for Jewish survivors. And there's always something going on to commemorate the Jewish Holocaust that didn't even happen in America. So all you Bernie Sanders supporters, think about that. He got on TV multiple times and said, I will not support reparations. So let's get to the point of understanding, as Malcolm said. What's up, T? I see you out there. Malcolm said, build your own house. Build your own community. Don't be ashamed of being unapologetically black. I think politics is like one of the worst things we can get involved in because it's our weakest leg. You have to participate in throwing people under the bus to get something. And as Malcolm said, we are just some political chumps because they take care of everything that needs to be taken care of, then they come to us. Any bill they want to push through, like I say, look back over the past 10 years and look at the LGBT and everything they accomplished in 10 years. Because they wove into the factory of America. They got jobs. They got money. They got economic standing. We just got a gay mayor in Chicago. Never held office. Had no black standing at all. Didn't win a single black award. But all those gay rah-rahs was up there like, this is great. Toni Perkwood wasn't, I don't know if she's going to be any better, but at least she was in the office. But she got her Negro wake-up call, and all the good white people that you love to trust, boom, turned their backs on her. And said, no, we got us a new nigga. This is a new nigga. We got a new nigga, and she going to do our bidding. It's ridiculous. So I wake up and people say, well, you're angry. I'm not angry. I'm just enlightened. I've been woke for years. Most of my life I've been woke. Like I say, even before Kaepernick took a knee, I was taking the knee back in the 70s. Not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, I get in trouble. So what? They try to take away everything that is value to you. I was like, I had this teacher and she was like, well, I'll take away the graduation speech. I said, lady, I don't care what you can't stop me from graduating. My scores are beyond anything. That's why I'm not even listening to you in your class, because we already passed all the levels. We already did the work. We're teachers' assistants. We should have graduated out of 7th grade. What are you going to take away from me that makes a difference to me? And that's how they get us. They got us feeling like, if you don't depend on us good white people, you's never going to have nothing. The only way you going to have something, nigga, is to stay under my foot and let me continue to be the king. You can't see my whole basement, but I used to come home every day from corporate America, and I got my pictures of Malcolm and Mandela and Martin on the wall, because I had to detox every day. Stress is one of the contributors to high blood pressure, and you have a lot of black people dying from high blood pressure and stress, hypertension. The rewards you get should be you putting money away, just like some slaves that were able to buy themselves after 20 years. That's what put the idea in my head when I was like, okay, I've been here by almost 20 years. I was about to be free. I can't say that any of those 20 years were enjoyable. So I spend my life to go to school to get degrees, to go and work for people that can barely read a book, But somehow they are constantly promoted above me. And it's not just where I work at. I was talking to the other friends that work at other places. But if we're going to continue to keep living in their house, eating what they decide to give us, then we're never going to come up. And I'm looking now saying, wow, what is Black America going to look like in 100 years? I am really nervous about how Black America is going to look, because it's looking sad. It's looking very sad. It's looking very sketchy. And we have to educate our children, educate ourselves. And like someone asked me a few weeks ago, well, what's your mission? My mission is just to enlighten people. If you come in my store, I want to have that Black conversation with you. Don't come in here and tell me about America and how great it is. Don't tell me about, well, the politics. How good? We had a Black president for 8 years. Did we get anywhere closer to reparations than we've been in the last 150 years? Did we make any progress toward that? With a Black man being in the highest office in the world, made no movement toward it. Let's stop pretending. Let's stop playing games. We liked what happened because we were told we would never see a Black president, and we believed that we would never see a Black president. And then we saw one. And then I'm still feeling like I really haven't seen a Black president, because I have not seen the things that's going to happen for Black people. Don't tell me about we made it easier for you to get a loan. Why do I need a loan if you just gave me reparations? I'll be straight. Well, that's just a big check now. How will we work that out? How do you work everything else out? How do you spend billions of dollars for walls and border protection and NASA and all the other stuff that you find money to spend, but reparations would be just an uncalled thing? Oh, well, you niggas are doing okay. Look at that. Oprah, Tyler Perry, Steve. Tell these niggas. Tell them you're doing okay. America's great, right? But looks like they getting their calls too. Look like they didn't cut Steve's show off. And what else did they do? It was something else that happened with Oprah. So all the niggas are getting a little wake up call around here to the reality that it doesn't make a difference about your money. Like I always say, they don't care about individual success. Collective success is what drives this racist country. Racism is created and acted on by groups. And you have to be fortunate enough to be in a meeting and hear a room full of white men make a racist comment about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Obama. So I've been privy to hear them make racist comments about everybody in my face, and they didn't care that they said it. Martin Luther King is a worthless person that never made any contributions to society. So why should we take the holiday off? And the other white man says, hey, all the other companies are doing it. We want to be politically correct, so we're going to do it also. We'll give the people time off, but we're going to come in and work. Now, we got 3 white people down there in the technology, and we need technology support. So go ask that nigga Rick, can he come in and work on Martin Luther King Day? And every time they asked me, I said, you can fire me right now. I wish I would. After I've had to witness and swallow y'all nonsense. Political correctness is just another hood that they hide behind. And they try to make you act according to it. They try to make you feel bad because you're a black person speaking up for other black people. because you give a damn about other black people. And that's hard for a lot of black people. I see a lot of black people out here that have it hard, a hard time treating other black people in a civilized manner. Like I said, I have all types of people coming into my store. They got drug habits, they may drink, they may smoke. And I try to have a conversation with everybody, because who am I? I'm no better than any of these people. But these are my people. I don't get to throw them away like they get to throw them away. Like they get to tell us. Or like they got to tell us, this person's no good. Martin's no good. Malcolm's no good. Farrakhan's no good. Elijah Muhammad's no good. The Black Panther Party is no good. The only good thing is what we give you, nigga. Now listen to a lot of their statements and then put nigga at the end of it. And then maybe you'll start hearing more clearly, seeing more clearly, believing. Don't get confused because you see a few successful black people. Don't get it confused. Individual success is not what we're talking about. And I tell people all the time, if you single and you ain't got no kids and nothing like that, and you ain't got no baggage, you can make it big in America. As long as you put your tap shoes on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, it can be beautiful. You can make it. They just say, forget those niggas. Them niggas ain't trying to do nothing. Look at you, Jim. You are making it. And I've seen a ton of top professionals still getting treated on that same level. But you can be content because you can take care of your family and you can probably do something for your kids and hope that they not enslaved. There was a big thing in the slavery that a lot of people would kill their kids just so they would not have to be in slavery. How sad and desperate was our world where in slavery you would rather kill your kids and let them suffer such hell, that after all this slavery, another 100 years of Jim Crow, your government, your political machine, that when they didn't win an election would kill or maim the blacks who did win, or the blacks that had the nerve to go up to the polls. Don't give me success in a bucket when they sitting eating success at the table. Well, what else we gonna do if we don't use our politics and we don't put this politics together and go to the table and say, okay, well, that's a win because, they didn't have to give us nothing. They gave us a little bit. It's bullshit. That's how they keep you in the same place. How come you don't never see Chinese out there protesting? Huh. When last time you seen Jews protesting? Huh. Polish people? Yeah. Okay, the Mexicans, they team up with the white people because they got numbers. Okay. It looks like it's just us. Stop it. This show was supposed to be about honoring Malcolm X. So we are going to end the show with a clip from Malcolm X. He was our manhood. He stood up and he told the devils to their face. That's all I'm trying to do. Stand up and be a man in a situation that is unhealthy for us as a people, as a group. We got to get to the unity point before we can get to the building point. I hope everybody has a blessed week. Didn't know if I was going to do this show. I'm having a surgery on my foot tomorrow, so keep me in your prayers. But on that note, as we always say, love, peace, soul. We out of here.
African Americans, or so-called Negro. One of the reasons that it is bad for us to continue to just refer to ourselves as so-called Negro, that's negative. When we say so-called Negro, that's pointing out what we aren't, but it isn't telling us what we are. We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us.
The first floor is always...
Black man in America for the past 400 years has been like a boy in the white man's house, begging the white man for a job, for food, clothing, and shelter. And then after the white man provides him with all of these things, he turns around and has the nerve to get angry at the white man when the white man tries to control his life. How can people, a group of people such as our people, who own no factories, have equal job opportunities competing against a race that owns the factories? The only way the two can have equal job opportunities is if black people have factories as well as white people have factories. And then we can employ whites or we can employ blacks, just like they can employ whites or they can employ blacks. But as long as the factories are in the hands of the whites, the housing is in the hands of the whites, the school system is in the hands of the whites, you have a situation where the blacks are constantly begging the whites, can they use this or can they use that? That's not any kind of equality of opportunity, nor does it lend toward one's dignity. What does a black man look like begging for a cup of coffee in a white restaurant and doesn't have a job to back up to pay for it when he does get the coffee? It's putting the cart before the horse. Instead of the Negro leaders having the black man begging for a chance to dine in white restaurants, the Negro leader should be showing the black man how to do something to strengthen his own economy, to give himself an independent economy, or to provide job opportunities for himself. Not begging for a cup of coffee in a white man's restaurant. Number one, he must have a knowledge of himself, and this gives him confidence in himself. He has been brainwashed by the educational system that exists here in America to the point where he feels he was a savage in the jungle when he was before he was brought here, and this destroys his morale. So the number one thing that has to be done, he has to be retaught, he has to be re-educated and made to know that he's a man like anyone else, and then he can stand on his own 2 feet like others. Then if the black man, the black leadership, who has access to all of this money and has all of these degrees today, can't use his talent and his know-how to set up business opportunities, job opportunities, housing opportunities for the black people, the same as the white leaders have done for white people, then these black leaders need to get off the boat. They're not leading our people toward any kind of independence, but they're using their positions and their education and their talent to exploit our people worse than the slave master did during slavery.